On Sunday, February 26, 1995, the Bank of England was woken up. Eddie George, the governor, came in personally. By midnight, the boardroom of the bank's headquarters on Threadneedle Street was occupied by every major British retail bank chief executive who could be reached. They were there to consider an emergency rescue of Barings. Barings Bank had been founded in 1762. It had financed the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. The United States literally bought half its territory using a loan from a British bank. It had funded the Napoleonic Wars on both sides. It had been the personal bank of the British royal family for over 200 years. Queen Elizabeth II banked at Barings. So had every British monarch since George III. By Sunday morning, the rescue was off the table. Nobody wanted to absorb the losses. The next afternoon, the Bank of England announced that Barings was insolvent, the oldest merchant bank in the City of London, the bank that had funded an empire, bankrupt. It had been destroyed in 3 weeks by a 28-year-old derivatives trader working alone in an office in Singapore on losses that ultimately totaled $1.4 billion. When the Bank of England's auditors finally reached the trading desk in Singapore, where Nick Leeson had been operating, they found a yellow post-it note on his computer monitor. 3 words. "I'm sorry." Leeson had been gone for 36 hours. Barings was, in 1995, the oldest merchant bank in the City of London, founded by Sir Francis Baring in 1762. By the 1800s, the French foreign minister had said, "There are 6 great powers in Europe: England, France, Prussia, Austria, Russia, and Baring Brothers." The bank had funded the Louisiana Purchase. It had bankrolled Wellington's army during the Napoleonic Wars. By the 1990s, Barings was a strange hybrid, still owned by the Baring Foundation, a charitable trust controlled by descendants of Sir Francis, still banking the British royal family. But it had also opened a derivatives arm called Baring Securities, hunting the new profits the city had decided lay in Asian futures markets. That was where Nicholas William Leeson was sent in 1992. Nick Leeson was born in Watford, England in 1967. His father was a plasterer. His mother was a nurse. He left school at 18 with 5 GCSE passes and no university degree, and began work as a clerk at Coutts & Company, the private bank used by the Queen. By 1992, at the age of 25, he had joined Baring Securities and was offered a transfer to the newly established Singapore office. Barings Futures Singapore, an emerging financial center, a tax-free posting. Leeson took it. He was assigned to be the office manager of BFS and the head trader on the Singapore International Monetary Exchange. That dual role is the most important sentence in this story. Nick Leeson was responsible for both executing trades and settling them, booking the back-office paperwork that confirmed the trade had occurred, and recording any profit or loss. This is the financial industry's most fundamental segregation of duties. No bank, anywhere ever, gives both jobs to the same person. Barings did. It was not that anyone at Barings had decided this was a good idea. It was that no one at Barings in 1992 had thought about it at all. Within his first month at BFS, a junior trader on Leeson's desk, a young woman hired 3 weeks earlier, made a clerical mistake. She sold a contract that should have been bought. The error cost the firm £20,000. In a normal bank, this would have been logged in a regulated error account, reported to London. The desk's annual P&L would have been adjusted downward, and the mistake would have been moved on from. Leeson did something different. He opened a new error account on the exchange system, gave it the number 88888, 5 eights considered the luckiest number in Cantonese, and used it to hide the mistake. He told the trader not to worry. He told her he would manage the loss out over time. She thanked him. It was the smallest, kindest, most pivotal lie of his career. Account 88888 was supposed to hold 1 trade. By the end of Leeson's time at Barings, it would hold over 60,000 unauthorized trades on a notional exposure of approximately $27 billion. Once Leeson had a hidden account, every subsequent mistake on the desk could be put in it. Then he started using it to hide his own trading errors, which were considerable. By the end of 1993, the account was down £20 million. To pay the margin calls, the daily cash the exchange required to keep open positions. Leeson invented a customer, a fictional client with fictional trades that the London back office would obligingly wire margin payments for. Because Leeson was also the settlements officer, no one in London ever cross-checked. At the same time, Leeson was producing record profits for his visible desk. In 1994, BFs contributed £30 million, a tenth of total Barings Group earnings. Leeson was paid a bonus of approximately £450,000. His name was circulated in London as the firm's golden boy. His superiors flew out to Singapore to congratulate him. They never sat in his back office. They never reviewed the account. They never asked what the margin calls were for. A trader who makes £30 million a year does not get audited. He gets dinner. At 5:46 in the morning, Japan time, on January 17, 1995, an earthquake measuring 6.9 on the Richter scale struck Kobe, a coastal city in western Japan. It killed 6,434 people. It is to this day one of the worst urban disasters in Japanese history. The Nikkei 225 opened the next morning down 5.6%. At the time of the earthquake, Leeson held a leveraged long position on the Nikkei of approximately 7,000 futures contracts, betting that the Nikkei would rise. By the end of trading on January 17th, that position had lost him £50 million in a single day. In a normal bank, this would have been the end of the story. The trader would have closed the position, swallowed the loss, reported it. Leeson did the opposite. He doubled the position. Over the following 3 weeks, he bought more Nikkei futures, more aggressively. He believed, he later said in interviews, that the Japanese government would intervene to support the market, that the Nikkei would rebound, and that he would recover everything in the bounce. The Nikkei did not rebound, it kept falling. By February 23rd, Leeson held a long position of 20,000 Nikkei futures contracts, representing a notional exposure of roughly $7 billion against a Barings Group capital base of approximately £600 million. A single 28-year-old in Singapore had built a position more than 10 times larger than the entire bank's capital. Nobody in London knew. Nobody in London had asked. The margin calls, over $1 billion wired from London to Singapore in 3 weeks, were processed by Treasury without anyone questioning what they were paying for, because Leeson said they were customer funds, and Leeson, being also the head of settlements, signed the paperwork. On the evening of Thursday, February 23, 1995, the day before his 28th birthday, Leeson sat in his office in the Cymex building with his wife Lisa and looked at his screen. The day's losses had pushed account 88888 into a deficit of approximately £800 million. Closing the position would crystallize the loss. Holding it required margin calls of over £100 million the next morning. London no longer had it. He left his desk. He drove home. He packed a bag. He wrote 3 words on a yellow Post-it and stuck it on the monitor. "I'm sorry." He took the 11 p.m. flight to Coda Kinabalu in Borneo and onward to a hotel in Brunei. Lisa flew with him. That morning, Friday, February 24th, his secretary came in and read the Post-it. She called London. In London, a panicked phone audit of the account began at approximately 10 a.m. By 2 p.m., the position was understood. By 4 p.m., the Bank of England had been notified. By 8 p.m., Eddie George was being driven into the city for an emergency board meeting. Barings died on the floor of the Bank of England that night. On March 5, 1995, ING Group, the Dutch banking conglomerate, acquired Barings Bank for the symbolic price of £1. ING also assumed all of Barings' debts. The Baring Foundation lost approximately £600 million of accumulated capital. The bank's 1,200 London employees lost their jobs the same week. The senior partners, most of whom were descended from Sir Francis Baring himself, were wiped out. The Queen's Bank closed forever. Nick Leeson was arrested at Frankfurt Airport on March 2nd. German authorities held him for 9 months while extradition was negotiated. He was eventually extradited not to the UK, where no charges were possible, but to Singapore, where the fraud had occurred under Singaporean banking law. He pleaded guilty to 2 charges of fraud and was sentenced to 6.5 years in Changi prison. The Barings collapse was the single most spectacular institutional failure of post-war British finance. It triggered a complete restructuring of risk management at every major European bank. The Board of Banking Supervision report on Barings became the canonical case study in financial risk management courses worldwide. And then, in 2008, Jérôme Kerviel at Société Générale lost the bank 4.9 billion euros on a desk where he had been given access to both trading and settlement systems. In 2011, Kweku Adoboli at UBS lost the bank $2.3 billion in essentially the same configuration. In 2012, Bruno Ixel at JP Morgan, the London whale, lost the bank $6.2 billion, partly because his book was reported to risk management by Ixel himself. Every single one of those traders had cited Nick Leeson by name in their internal training. They had all watched the case study, they had all been warned, and they had all repeated almost exactly the same structural mistake. A trader given both jobs will, over time, learn to hide. It is not a personality failing, it is a system failing. Nick Leeson is today 58 years old. He survived the colon cancer he was diagnosed with in prison. He divorced Lisa. He moved to Galway in Ireland. He earns a living today as a public keynote speaker. He is paid roughly £10,000 per appearance to walk corporate audiences, investment banks, hedge funds, compliance conferences, through the story of how he destroyed Britain's oldest bank. Many of his largest clients are the very banks that, in 1995, vowed to learn the lessons of Barings. They pay him to remind them. His memoir, Rogue Trader, has been continuously in print for 30 years. It is on the recommended reading list for every junior trader at every major investment bank in London. The book sells every year slightly more copies than the previous year. The Baring family no longer banks. The Queen, until her death in 2022, banked at Coutts. If this is the kind of story you came here for, subscribe. More files are on the way.